Infinity Train? Why, this is the most blatant case of fraudulent advertising since the Never-Ending Story. That is an old Simpsons reference. So Infinity Train began as a Cartoon Network pilot back in 2016, and it kind of became an overnight hit because it had a very intriguing story with a huge mystery behind it, and everyone loves a good mystery, so it got a lot of people talking. I think it also helps that it came out after Gravity Falls had ended, and that show was insanely popular too, pretty much for the same reasons, and I believe people were hungry for more after Gravity Falls went off the air. And a lot of people were getting concerned that this would just be another forgotten pilot that Cartoon Network has produced, but they did end up saying that they were aware of how popular it was and decided to air it on TV, which they don't seem to normally do with their pilots. They usually go direct to YouTube, but they aired it at like 6 a.m. on a Saturday, I think, which is something, I guess. But I guess they finally decided that it was popular enough, so they did eventually announce that it was getting its own series. Yes, our cartoon overlords have decided to throw us, the mortals, a crust of bread. Be grateful, lest they think twice next time. So the show aired for 10 episodes over the course of 5 days, and a lot of people were comparing it to Over the Garden Wall, and considering how both shows are, I would say that is a very fair comparison. Infinity Train was created by Owen Dennis, who had previously worked on Regular Show and was also working on J.G. Quintel's other show, Close Enough. Whenever that's supposed to air. The show focuses on a girl named Tulip who finds herself on the Infinity Train, which is this giant train with giant cars, and each one of them is filled with puzzles and different colorful characters that she can interact with, who sometimes try to kill her. She immediately meets up with 1-1, who is this robot orb with a split personality. One is very optimistic and the other is very pessimistic. And I gotta say, with the design and the pessimistic side, he kind of reminds me of Marvin from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. She's also joined by Atticus, who is featured in the pilot. He is King of Corgania and ruler of all the Corgis, and throughout the show he helps protect her and offers her guidance and wisdom every now and then, which in my opinion places him as the second greatest fictional Corgi of all time. Ein from Cowboy Bebop is still number 1, and that Pokemon one is number 3. One thing I really like is that they actually integrated the pilot into the series proper. They did recreate it for its own episode, but you don't see that very often. Oftentimes, pilots are kind of standalone, like, again, going back to Over the Garden Wall, the original pilot of the show had not a whole lot to do with the actual series, so I thought it was really cool if they did that because they did establish quite a few things in that pilot that a lot of people were wondering about. Although they did change quite a few things for the series, obviously. The train, for one, is much bigger. The cars are massive, whereas in the pilot I think they were like regular sized train cars, but oftentimes she would go into one of the cars and it would be much bigger on the inside. I think giving the cars a much bigger size creates a sense of menace to the train, and there's definitely a lot of horror elements in this show. The animation in this show looks really good too. In fact, I would say it looks a lot better than some of the more recent shows that Cartoon Network has had. In fact, it's one of the better looking shows they've had in a while. And I love the synth track for this show. It sounds amazing. It does resonate a lot with Stranger Things, which recently had its 3rd season, but if you're old school like me, I would say it reminds you a little more of John Carpenter. I also really like Tulip's character because she is not an idiot. She's very smart. She's able to problem solve and rationalize things, but she also has a lot of flaws which she needs to overcome. So I'm happy to say that this show is every bit as quality as we expected it to be. So I'm guessing there was not a whole lot of meddling on Cartoon Network's end, and they allowed a little bit more freedom, which I really think they should do a lot more. Now the thing is, I'm not going to spoil much about this show, because it's definitely something you really have to watch for yourself and experience for yourself. But I will say that not all of your questions are going to be answered. They did leave a lot open-ended. You know, oftentimes answers to questions don't really matter that much, especially in something like this, because it's a lot more thematical. This was definitely a personal journey for Tulip, and bogging down with too much lore and stuff like that will often distract from what the actual point of the show should be. You know, I was kind of expecting this to be a mini-series similar to Over the Garden Wall, again making the comparison, but they actually did announce a second season to this, which, considering how this ended, this first season actually ended, I'm very curious to see where they're going to go with this. Maybe they will answer a couple of questions, but who knows? I'm genuinely curious, and I'm definitely going to watch it. But as for this first season, it was really good. I actually have very few negative things to say about it. I think this is one of Cartoon Network's best shows they've had in a long time. So we should probably enjoy it while it lasts. But that's all I got for Infinity Train. Leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of it. My name is Rob, and have a wonderful day. Word up.